Opišite nam prirodu tih lijekova. Konkretno spominjete barem nekoliko njih u knjizi. Već sam spomenuo Benaxaprofen, pa onda Vioxx, to je koji je donosio 25% prihoda tvrtke Merck u Njemačkoj, pa potom naravno Novartisov Prestige koji je povučen iz nekih zemalja radi smrtnih slučajeva, pa naravno lijek koji izvorno se zvao fluoksetin, danas je poznati kao Prozac, gdje ste imali dosta značajnu ulogu u njegovoj promociji. Oni su se prodavali kao čudesni lijekovi, oni su zamagljivali granicu između bolesti i zdravlja da bi bili potrebni u navodnicima cijeloj populaciji. Na koji način se manipuliralo ispitivanjima takvih lijekova? Koje su njihove nuspojave? Zbog čega ste uopće knjigu nazvali Nuspojava smrt?
Well, it started with Benaxaprofen, which was submitted for marketing approval. And in the meantime, they were doing clinical evaluation in several countries in Europe, Germany, Denmark, and so forth. Then the product build-up, the marketing build-up was done by me and my guys, and we were expecting this thing to be really huge. The company really put a lot of money and effort in there. And they expected this to be, boom, it's going to just sweep the market. Anyway, I was on a plane coming from Rome on a training session I had down there. And I was pulled off the plane when it landed in Copenhagen before it went to Stockholm. They pulled me off and said, you have to go to the VIP room. I went there and I got a message saying, don't speak to any journalist or anyone for that matter when you come back. So I got back to Stockholm and I was wondering what's going on. There were journalists waiting outside of my office and so forth. I didn't speak to anybody. Then later I found out that they had pulled the drug off the market. It was selling in England and had just gotten registration in the US, but not in Sweden. And the reason for that was, I can't remember the exact number, but I think about 400 people died after a couple of months in England. So they pulled the drug off the market. And they told me nothing about what was going on. All I heard were reports coming from the other European countries that people were dying of this product, from this product. And, but I trusted them. I sincerely trusted the pharma industry when I worked with them. Then, after this incident with Benaxaprofen, I started to wonder and I started to look closer and I found things that really didn't fit with me. Now, when the drug was pulled off the market, Lilly didn't take the rap. They stuck it on a doctor. His name is Ian Shedden, an Englishman. They were fined $15,000 to $25,000, and that was it. No concern for the people who died. Nothing. And that made me angry. This guy paid a fine, which of course the company paid, and I've never heard of him, never heard from him before. After that, he disappeared, which tells me, with my experience in life, he was paid off, and he probably is in some island somewhere with a couple of naked women and a lot of pina coladas, I suppose. I don't know for sure, but this is how you think when something like that happens.
To je bio lijek koji je povučen. Danas u mnogim američkim filmovima možemo čuti psihijatra kako preporučuju lijek zvan Prozac, skoro kao bombone. Popijte Prozac da se malo bolje osjećate, da se malo dignute i ovo i takve stvari. Međutim, iznenađujuće, ali taj lijek Prozac koji bi trebao dizati ljude na neki način je povezan s njihovim samoubojstvom, a vi ste pak bili povezani sa tvari koja se zvala fluoksetin, koja je zapravo bila lijek budući Prozac.
Let me get back to Prozac, okay? The Benaxaprofen story stopped. The company panicked because they didn't have anything up to date in the pipeline except Prozac. Now I'll get back to that story. The benoxaprofen, a few years later, after the incident with the withdrawal, Merck came with a product that's almost an identical copy. It's only a little tweak in the molecule called Vioxx. Vioxx performed the same way as benoxaprofen. And you must have heard of this. It's been all over the media to a certain point. And there are lots of litigations still going on in the courts with this product. So Merck also had to take that product off the market. Now there's a range of these products, benoxaprofen, Vioxx, and all the other ones that came later. They're called COX inhibitors. They all belong to the same group. And several of them that came after Vioxx were also taken off the market in several countries because the side effects was unbearable. I mean, you just don't bring a drug out like that and give to people. Now, somewhere along the line, it was also established that these companies had hidden. They knew about these side effects, but they don't give $1 for a person's life. So they continued, even though they suppressed the negative information, and continued to sell it. A lot of people died, and nobody has paid for that. Somebody should pay for that. But I'll get back to that later in our talk. Prozac was the next drug in line to come to replace benoxaprofen. And we needed a drug badly, a new thing to sell. You know, I didn't have anything except them old products. Now, Prozac, as far as I remember and as far as I know, and there are documents to prove that, the company had intended this product to be used on obesity, fat people all over the world.
Sigurno je da smrt dosta dobro liječi od debljine. Ali to već znamo. Ne znamo što je bilo dalje.
Well, the thing is that they assumed that it's good for obesity because imagine the market. Obesity is huge. They had seen patients losing weight while they were doing some clinical trials. But it is difficult to get the registration and the marketing approval for such a drug. So they went for depression, which was the original idea with that substance. It belongs to a group of drugs called the SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, for depression. Now, that drug literally took off and became the first ever blockbuster because the happy people, the sad people in Hollywood became happy when they took it. And some of them became so happy that they took and cut themselves with razor blades and killed themselves in the process. So that drug started the whole avalanche of suicides and all the other side effects that goes with it among all the SSRIs that eventually came out. One company tweaked the molecule, got a new drug, Zoloft is one of them, Paxil is another one, and a whole line of these drugs came out, and the same side effects all over the world. And many people committed suicide and so, but the authorities don't do anything about it. And that bugs me, first of all.
Zanimljivo je da lijek protiv depresije zapravo stvara ljude koji postaju samoubojice, ali mislim i smrt je neki lijek za depresiju, zar ne? Ono što je zanimljivo jest epizoda koja je prethodila puštanju budućeg Prozaca na tržište. Ona naime ima različite imena u raznim zemljama. I sami ste sudjelovali u podmićivanju jednog od nezavisnih stručnjaka. Kako je to išlo? Ispričajte nam bar tu jednu priču. Do sad smo uglavnom samo slušali teoretska nagađanja da su neki ljudi, stručnjaci podmićeni. Međutim, to je eto primjer koji znate vi iz svog iskustva.
Well, the need for Lilly to get a product out on the market after benoxaprofen was vital, urgent. Sweden we got the file to get the registration submitted. But in Sweden, it would take normally 5 to 8 years. But they weren't satisfied with that. They said, John, your career could depend on it to get this drug approved. I mean, that was a threat. That was a blatant threat. And they might think that I was sitting around there as this general manager or whatever, but I was observing every single move this company was making. They didn't know that, but I know it now. And I'm glad I did, because I wouldn't be able to tell you the things I'm telling you here today. Now, I decided to go about to get this thing registration. In Sweden, the clinical file is given to an expert. Well, they call them experts. Today, I don't call them experts at all. I call them crooks. Anyway, this guy, when I told him about the product, I'd figure out which one of 5 people that could have done this job. I made a pitch at him, he started to laugh. He says, that product is useless. It will never be registered. I said, oh my God, what's going to happen now? So I said, well, look, I need your help. I'd done my profiling on him, mind you, my little thing that I told you about before, and he befriended him. I knew he was interested in sailing. I went and read all about sailing just to accommodate the conversation with this man. Anyway, he says, okay, he can do it, but he needs money. I asked him how much. He told me. I went back to the company and I said, yeah, the guy's going to help us, but he needs to be paid. And they said, go ahead, set it up. I set it up. He got paid. But there was another part of the deal where he was going to get a clinical evaluation, a long-term study on Prozac at his clinic, which meant that he was secure with salary for several years. That's a $1 million deal, which eventually never happened. Anyway, this guy, I sent my medical manager down to him, and they spent a night at a hotel, and the next day, and they went through everything. He showed her how to set up the file so that the board does not ask questions. Anyway, everything went well, the whole thing was submitted, but the Board of Health, they came to me 1 week and said, go and negotiate the price, because I had to go and negotiate the price with the government, which I did, and I got a very, very good price. Then, a week later, the board says, well, guys, we need a 5 milligram dose. You only got 20. The 5 milligram brings less side effects. All sorts of medical people started running into my office. They even threw me out of my office to sit and have their own meetings and whatever. Eventually, they said, no, we will not give you a 5 milligram tablet. And I said, well, here we go. That's the end of it. But my negotiating the price with the government became official. And they didn't care anymore about the dosage and the drug. They took the price and went all over the world and got a high price in all the big countries. Otherwise, if the 5 milligram had come out, they would have lost 75% of revenue, because the 5 milligram divided the price by 4, 75% was gone. So they said no. Then they decided to promote me. And I wondered why. Well, I'd always asked for a foreign assignment, because I was at the top where I was. I wasn't going anywhere. And they said, yeah, we have a job for you in Puerto Rico, director for Puerto Rico, Caribbean, one country in Central America, and so forth. And I said, yeah, I'll take it. And that was the trap I walked into.